Hey, what's up, everybody? Mogan Monster here. Welcome to Why the Fascination, or WTF Live. It's great to see everybody here in chat. Ben, Professor Orange Juice, Paul, Mr. Monsieur, Mr. Mister. What's up, buddy? Jamie, nice to see you. Who else we got here? Donna, Strangeland. So glad you guys are here, man. I got a good guest tonight. I'm looking forward to. I think you guys will enjoy it. Some good stories. He's coming to us from Washington State. Yeah, it's going to be a good show. So I'm not going to sit here and babble on and on. We're just going to bring him on. I want you guys to welcome Gilbert to the show. And let me pull him up. There we go. Gilbert.
Hello, chat.
Welcome to the show, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. So yeah, I was pretty intrigued by your email, and you know, I wanted to talk to you and have you come on and tell us about your encounters. But if you want, tell us a little bit about yourself, so chat can get to know you a little bit.
Okay, yeah. So I was born and raised in Washington, Whatcom County. Spent most of my life here, except for a couple years when I was just a tot, lived in Montana, where my dad is from. But after we moved back over, just bounced around Whatcom County, living on my tribe's reservation, which I am registered Lummi, but living on and off the reservation, and just having Bigfoot experiences here and there. Mostly, really, only when I've been on the reservation. And when I've been off the reservation, I've had paranormal experiences.
Right on.
And they were pretty creepy, just all around, the Bigfoot and the paranormal stuff.
So what started the earliest for you? Like,
would be when I was a kid. I was about 10, 11 years old. One of my cousins, I'd go visit with him at his house, or he'd come to my house. And when he'd come to my house, we would just kind of wander around the immediate area. And one day we're walking down the road and he stops and points up into the woods, which is about 70, 80 yards away. Says, "Holy smokes, cousin, what is that?" I look up and I could see something sitting in the tree. And I can't remember what he says, but it gets me scared, and we both run off back to my house. And this had happened a handful of times. And thinking about it, I'm trying to think of what it looks like. But like I said, it's 70, 80 yards away, so there's really no way to pick up on any details. I just know that it wasn't wearing clothes. That it had to have been like a juvenile Sasquatch. And I just know that whatever it wasn't wearing clothes. I was telling a friend of mine recently that, like, what native is going to climb up in a tree stark naked?
No.
You know? And eventually...
Although, no, never mind.
Okay. And eventually, one night I was getting ready to go to bed and start getting it first hit as a skunk smell. So I thought, just a skunk walking by, you know, nothing to it. And I could tell it was getting closer. And then I picked up a earthy, musky smell that was real pungent, along with rotten potatoes.
That's an interesting smell.
Yeah.
That's specific.
I had heard of Bigfoot before that, but I really had no idea what having him nearby would be like. So I was like, what is that smell? And then and then at some point I start hearing a snorting noise. And I was like, well, what's that? What's that noise? And growing up, I was taught to always have your shades closed. You know, when it gets dark enough and out, close them. Curtains, shades, whatever you have, don't have them open. And my mom comes out of her bedroom, tells me to close the curtains. and I don't really remember what a whole lot she says, but I think she just quickly mentions that it's a Sasquatch, and we got to make sure to close the curtain so he can't stand there and looking at the house. Yeah. And this happened a few times where he come around, walking around the outer perimeter of my house. And there'd be times we had a wood pile on the side of the house, and there'd be times when he'd even walk on that. When my mom first noticed it and she heard the snorting, she thought maybe a horse. That, first thing came to mind for her was a horse. But we don't have wild horses living out here, and it's very rare to have somebody bring a domesticated horse around. So, and when it got closer, it did sound a little off, and that must have what clued her into it being a Sasquatch. And I was thinking about this the other night, and I think there was one time I didn't close the curtains soon enough and did start to see a little bit of an eye shine coming around.
Oh, really?
It was a really big window that went almost clear to the roof and almost to the floor, and was really wide. So it was like a panoramic view window, basically.
It's almost too big.
Yeah.
when you got something like that outside.
Yeah. It would be very easy for him to stand there and watch us, doing whatever we're doing.
Sure.
Would be doing.
It's like a fish tank.
Yeah. And like I said, this happened a few times of him coming and walking around the perimeter of the house. And eventually I start having relatives talking to me about, you see a Bigfoot, don't make direct eye contact because it can make you go crazy. And being a younger me, I almost literally thought it'd be like you would be put in an insane asylum. But as an adult and hearing various people's encounters, it's probably the going crazy part is probably just more the emotional
PTSD
and basically the effect it has on people after they have an encounter.
The trauma.
Yeah. And
makes sense.
Yeah. And then one night one of my brothers was in from out of town. And he told me we were going to be sleeping in the back of his truck. And he had that parked right next to the front porch. And we fell asleep. And this real strong, pungent skunk smell combined with that earthy, muskin, and rotten potato smell woke us up. Now, again, I didn't really, even though we had him coming around the house, I didn't think, oh, maybe this is Sasquatch.
Yeah, 2 and 2 together didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we was hearing the snorting noise again. Now, I'll admit, when I was younger and thinking back on this, I thought it was like actually kind of howling at us. But I was talking to my brother about it, and it was more of a snorting noise. I asked him if there's other animal you know of, what would it sound like? And he said a horse. And before too long, it smacked on the top of his canopy. And I took off out of the back of his truck like I was shot out of a cannon. I left him in my dust. We had a family gathering recently, asked me if we had a Bigfoot encounter again, would I be running away like that again? I said, no, with my knees the way they are, you're going to be the one that gets away. And if he's fixing to eat one of us, I'm the one he'll be busy
with. It's me.
You're getting yeah. I'll be faster.
Taking one for the team.
Faster than me. Yeah.
Hey, I have to address something in chat real quick. Guys, okay. I see some of you guys are complaining about the connection or something, the screen flashing on and off. It says this is popping on and off every few seconds. And you can probably still hear the audio, but the picture is going on and off, because I had the same problem earlier when I was on my cell phone. I was watching Blue Line Bigfoot, and I had the same issue. I could hear the volume, I could see it for a minute, and then it would be black screen. Little once in a while, you get that buffering thing, but they would keep popping on and off. So that's probably what's going on. It was happening on my phone. When I went to my laptop, guys, I don't know if you have laptops or whatever, any other way of watching, it didn't do it. So something's going on. Because mine did it earlier. So I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do about it. It's not my end. Just acknowledging that, guys. I see you're having issues with it. So I apologize. Carry on. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, dude, but
No,
I just wanted to address that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was it. I didn't have any other Bigfoot encounters. In fact, at some point, we moved in with my grandma, and she lived off the reservation, and in the city. So we lived with her, I think, for about 3 years, and just moved, like I said, we moved around a lot. So it took another 10 years to be living back out on the reservation. And at this point, I was in college, and I had a classmate that had a CD with Sasquatch vocalizations on it that he was letting people listen to. And I was curious to what he sounded like.
That's trouble waiting to happen.
Yes, that's the moral of this part of the story. Is it was a little bit after 10. Put in my headphones. I was listening to it. The window was open about an inch or two. The shades were open just a little bit, and I didn't really think anything of it. And I was sitting there listening to it, and I was listening to it for about 40 minutes, and I was getting this real intense feeling I was being watched, getting those spine tingles, and I think even a little bit of goosebumps. And for whatever reason, I didn't think Bigfoot. I thought, oh, maybe it's my mom. She's standing at my doorway wanting to say something. And I was just sitting there with my eyes closed waiting for her to talk. And she wasn't saying anything. She wasn't saying anything. And I was positioned in my bed a way that I was looking at my window. And the first thing I saw as soon as I opened my eyes was 2 red dots through the narrow opening in the shades. And I was like, what is that? And it took me a few seconds to figure out it's probably Sasquatch, because it was too high to be a cat or a dog. Sure. And I even just remembered recently, like, it wasn't light reflection, like some people talk about seeing eye shine. It's actually coming from the eyes rather than light reflecting off of their eyes.
It's bioluminescent.
Yeah.
Sort of like, yeah.
And when that realization hit me, when I was real that the other day, it sent a wave of goosebumps through my body. Chills. And when I looked at the dots, like I said, it took me a couple seconds to realize it might have been Sasquatch, and I was staring. It probably felt like I was staring at it for about a minute or two, but it was probably more like 30, 40 seconds.
Sure.
And I almost sat up to close everything, but I didn't. I laid back down, put in a different CD, listened to that for about 40 minutes, figured it would be gone by then, and then closed my window and completely closed the shades. And for almost a month, it hit a certain point at night, I wouldn't have any of that open for anything. And one night, my mom was going to the bathroom, because just outside my bedroom was the bathroom. And she happened to be going to the bathroom and see me making sure to close everything. And I was probably just doing urgent. She asked me why, what's going on here? And I told her about what happened. And all I can remember, she just assured me that I probably don't need to worry about it as long as I'm not listening to vocalizations again.
Don't antagonize it.
Yeah. And
sorry,
so
Mom.
I figured, yeah. And I just, it was probably just curious, this sounds like Sasquatch is over here. What's going on? It was staring at me, probably trying to figure out what's this hairless thing doing? It sounds like a Sasquatch, but it doesn't look like one,
Where is that coming from?
Yeah. How is he making that noise? And
That's cool.
yeah, I needless to say, I didn't listen to that CD until I brought it back to my classmate. It just stayed in the case he had it in, and I just didn't listen to it.
And you were listening to it over just in a radio?
Yeah, it was a
CD
portable
player?
CD player. Yeah, and headphones even. But
I'm just
yeah,
that's I was surprised that it showed up when you were wearing headphones. I mean,
yeah, that's what I was. That's why I
that's
figured they must have better hearing than.
good hearing. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
fascinating.
And my next encounter, I can't remember. It had to have been either later that year, or maybe early the next year. I was at a friend's house, and um, she was. It was her and her then husband, and they're an elderly couple, and then they had his mom living there, and a friend from Alaska. He was also going to the same college, and he was the then mother-in-law's living caregiver. And I was going over
Okay.
there a lot to hang out, just hang out with them. And one night, skunk smell. It was getting closer, and then it was a pungent, earthy smell, and rotten onions. And I did think Bigfoot, but I also said skunk. Because like anything that goes bump in the night, whether it's Sasquatch or ghost or whatever, I kind of want to make sure I'm not jumping to conclusions, debunk it, try to think of maybe
Sure.
something very mundane first. The wife was
Squirrel.
like, "No, that's Sasquatch. He comes by here a lot." And they lived. There's an area off over there where it's kind of a swampy area, and they did have like a patch of trees that went by the house, and then like a Sasquatch could go by, cross the road, and there's a bunch of more trees there, and keep going off into other part of the woods out here.
Sure.
And so what it was just kind of a path it traveled, just happened to go by their house. And it was lingering. It didn't just pass by, it was lingering. And at one point, it sounded like it was running its hand along the length of the house. In stories I've heard since then, I haven't heard of other than maybe Sasquatch pushing in the side of a tent for people camping. I haven't heard of a Sasquatch doing that. So I don't know. That might have been something else unrelated. I don't know. And he wasn't around for very long when the wife had my buddy from Alaska fire off a few rounds out of the hunting rifle on the back. He went out and stood on the back porch and fired off like 2 or 3 shots in the sky. Because I don't know when, but I do know my tribal council actually made it illegal to shoot a Sasquatch.
That's awesome. I think that was back in the 60s, wasn't it?
Yeah, probably. I can look into that.
But that's awesome that, they acknowledged it back then. I mean,
yeah.
You had other countries like Russia and I think France or somebody else, they put it on the endangered species list back in like 1967 or 66 or, back then. And we don't even know it exists. As far as the general public.
Yeah. You say that, and it was August 26th, 1970, that Governor Daniel Evans, the governor of Washington at the time, made it illegal to shoot a Bigfoot. It's like even manslaughter to shoot a Bigfoot.
Good.
And part of the document that they wrote up was that it's considered to be on the endangered species list. And
that's awesome that they recognize it.
Yeah.
There's some counties around the country. I think there's one whatever county Whitehall, New York is in. I think they have a thing where it's illegal to shoot one. And it just should be straight up across the board everywhere. Don't mess with them.
Yeah, I know the Navajo tribe is like, kill them all, don't leave any of them alive. But my tribe, we look at it as another form of man. Yeah,
People.
a
Yeah,
people with their own
sure.
culture, their own language,
Absolutely.
and that they even have like spiritual abilities that humans don't.
Hmm.
Which, if true, would explain like some of the paranormal type things that people see and experience when they have a Bigfoot encounter.
Sure. Oh, I believe it could be true.
Mhm.
I don't rule it out. I can't. I believe in the paranormal. I've experienced the
Yeah.
paranormal. I haven't
Mhm.
experienced the Bigfoot, but it would be foolish of me not to believe,
Yeah.
if I can
There's
believe in one, I
so
should believe in the other.
yeah, and then there's like only so much we know of Bigfoot. Who's to say he doesn't have these abilities? You know?
Something it would make sense for it to have like an ESP or
Mhm.
telepathy, amongst themselves. And if they have it, they can use it on humans. I would assume,
Yeah.
just because their whole existence, not their whole existence, but to avoid humans, look how stealthy they are. They have to be quiet, and if they want to talk to each other, besides banging on trees and crap and rock clacks, and you would think there might be some sort of telepathy.
Yeah.
Why not? I've personally experienced telepathy with another person who was 500 miles away on different occasions. I know it's possible.
Yeah.
So, I think it's possible. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Last few years I'm pretty open minded to a lot of things myself, you know. Don't buy into it, but then don't immediately dismiss it either, you know.
absolutely. I don't hop on anybody's wagon and like,
Hmm.
start flying someone else's flag, hey, this is it.
Yeah.
They have the
Yeah.
answers. No, they don't.
Hmm.
They have more questions.
Yeah.
But things are coming out. Things I think things are going to change pretty soon, and more and more people are going to get involved that need to be involved, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Because we don't need the government's approval or the science recognized by science when enough people already know it exists. So
Yeah.
they don't need them to recognize it. They already know it exists. So
Mm.
I just think if enough people know about it,
Yeah.
some might give. Who knows?
Yeah, I got a buddy who he's never had an encounter, but he fully buys into Sasquatch. He he's he even wants to he even occasionally mentions to me about going squatching, going up into the
Should.
mountains with me and the two of us
And where
seeing if
you're
we
at,
find
man, you
anything.
probably don't have to go far.
No. I can open up my door and 10 yards away from my porch is trees.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah,
there's
I have
even
to go to the high country for to see the
mm,
trees.
yeah, where I live, there's trees everywhere. You'd have to go like into the city to not
Not
see
see
trees.
trees.
But even then,
That's great.
you can drive another 30 minutes past that, and there's a lot more trees. So
Sure.
there's plenty territory for Sasquatch to hang out here and
Yeah,
do whatever Sasquatch does.
I plan to get up that way. I've never done like Washington or Oregon or that whole Northwest area. And for you guys who've been following, yes, today I did get my license, so I am a licensed driver
Congratulations, man.
again. Thank you. So yeah, once I get wheels, I'm going to start checking things out. I want to go visit up by your area up in the Northwest and check things out. But I had to throw that out there. I should have announced it earlier, but yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, it's always good when you get freedom. I have I've been in situations where I haven't had a car for a few months and had to rely on public transportation. And when I get a car again, it's like, yes, freedom.
Yeah. Well, I've been doing
Oh,
public transportation for 21 years.
oh goodness.
Yeah. Long story. Not going to get into it.
Yeah.
But thanks, guys. Yeah, I know you're going to say congrats and thank you. I'm not going to kid. I can't thank everybody right now. or I can. Thank you. Um, yeah, it's exciting. But it was weird because then I got home, I had my license, and I'm like, now what? I don't have a vehicle.
Yeah. That's the
I
next
was
step.
like, I just looked at it. I was like, well, shit. But I think next week, I think I'm going to try to get up to the rim and do some camping. I'm just going to borrow my dad's Polaris, hopefully, and load up some camping gear, grab my German Shepherd, and go, and just go hang out on the rim for a couple days. I might miss a show. I'll just record. I'll of course I'll record when I'm up there, and if I have to record a show up there, I'll record a show. But I can't upload it, so I'd have to like leave the woods, find a McDonald's with Wi-Fi or some shit just to upload a show. Excuse me. Got to stop smoking. And it's funny. I said if I got my license, I'd quit smoking. Now I think, well, once I get a car, I'll quit smoking. It's terrible. Let's see. I just gotta, what? If you guys have questions at this point, feel free. I mean, I haven't really been paying attention, guys. Put them in caps so I do see them. Big Rob, I do remember how to drive. And you know what? When I up to the point when I wasn't driving, I was driving every day in Manhattan, in New York City, making deliveries. So it wasn't like I drove into work, parked the car, went and worked in an office building. No, I drove around Manhattan all friggin' day. So yeah, I did some serious driving. I was a good driver, but shit happens. Life happens, and here we are. And this is weird because it's 3 days shy of 21 years since I lost it. It's kind of weird. Is this my phone going off making all this damn noise? Hang on. I'm getting messages on congratulations on my license. Let me shut off the sound. Thank you guys. Really, you guys are awesome. So yeah, I'm gonna eventually get up your way. I wanna see up there. I told you earlier. I grew up fishing and crabbing, and just I love that whole water experience. It's just how I was raised.
Yeah, there's a spot of Whatcom County, Truckanut Drive. I don't remember who decided it, but I heard once that Truckanut Drive is one of the, I think, in the top 10 most beautiful places in the U.S. So if and when you do get up here, I do recommend checking Truckanut Drive out.
Definitely. I just want to explore now.
Yeah.
But then there's that whole thing about having to pay rent and having a job and all that crap.
Yeah. Responsibilities.
Yeah, fuck. I don't want to be an adult.
Yeah.
Let's see. Do any tribal leaders? Okay, here. Let's see. Stan asked, do any tribal leaders ever mention or talk about Bigfoot nowadays?
It's not. It's probably more of a one-on-one conversation you'd have to have with them.
Sure.
My tribal council is actually pretty active on Facebook because there's I don't know how many members of my tribe have Facebook, but that's a good way that they have to communicate with the tribal members, especially with all this COVID mess going on and wanting everybody to shelter in place. They use the Facebook. We have an official Facebook page where they'll get on there and they'll do the Facebook Live thing to let us know if this is what we're going to do, this is when it's going to happen. But Sasquatch never comes up when they do that.
Sure.
It would have to be more of a one-on-one conversation you have with them.
That makes sense. I mean, it's nobody wants to really bring up stuff like that, you know.
Yeah. There are some tribal members that, like my friend, her house that we had the experience in the Swampy area, tried asking her about it and she didn't want to talk about it. And so there's some tribal members they will, and there's some that won't. Kind of like with the Skinwalker thing, like don't mention Skinwalker by name too many times. He'll pay you a visit.
Sure.
It's kind of the same thing that they kind of take a similar view to Sasquatch.
Yeah, I didn't know with the Navajo, as far as, you know, their attitude towards it was like kill them all. I didn't.
Yeah,
remember hearing
I didn't
that.
either.
But I know like they have, I don't know, like with certain tribes, I guess they have certain traditions, and you're not supposed to talk about Bigfoot during the warm season. You can only talk about it during the winter. You know, it's sort of like with the Skinwalkers, don't mention it. That's the way I see it being along those lines, is don't mention it too many times, because it's, so I guess it's seasonal, you know, when you can talk about it. So I have to wait till winter to go talk to somebody on the Navajo side. Because I'd love to hear their stories. All these stories are just amazing, you know.
They are.
It's just fascinating, you know. So what else you got?
And that is about it on Bigfoot encounters. I currently live on my tribe's reservation, and sometimes there's a skunk smell, but it's a pure skunk smell. There isn't anything else with it, so it's probably just most likely skunk.
Or someone's growing weed on the res.
Yeah. Yeah. But I have had a handful of paranormal experiences that was equally as creepy as seeing those two red dots that one night.
Let's hear it.
And so the biggest one, the biggest one for myself, just individually, was about 5 years ago. I was living in town, and I was laying down, ready to go to sleep, listening to music, and I had my eyes closed. You know how sometimes you have your eyes closed, you start seeing random shapes? I started getting that, and that's just what it was. Nothing to it. And eventually, two eyes and a mouth, kind of like the Cheshire Cat, formed. And I was thinking, oh, it's just random shapes, nothing to it. You know, like I said, I don't want to automatically jump to conclusions. It's something that goes bump in the night. And after a minute or so, it became more defined, a more clear eyes, and I think a nose, and just a real sinister grin. And it sent chills throughout all my body, and it was just a real creepy feeling. Like it just did not have no remotely friendly intentions at all. And I wasn't getting any noises. I never had, like, say, sleep paralysis. It was just that one night of seeing that. Like it was above my face and was getting closer to mine. And what I did is I sat up right away, and I was on my bed. I didn't have a bed frame. It was just sitting on the ground.
Sure.
And I had a tote full of like various belongings, and I moved it to the head of my bed because I figured what was going on, of whatever it was kneeling at the head of my bed. So I put something there so it couldn't kneel there anymore. And then I had a shelf that I kept various things on, like car keys or whatever, and put it to the next to my bed, so figured it might kneel to the side of me.
Sure.
Because it was just real creepy, real spine-tingling goosebumps.
No doubt.
And I actually, when I was born, my mom was already a member of the Mormon Church. And it's been years since I've gone myself. But after I had that happen and moved that stuff to the next to my bed, I prayed. Because I do hold some of the core beliefs and teachings that I just don't go to the weekly meetings anymore. I don't do any of the ritualistic stuff that they do. And a couple days goes by, and I'm sitting there playing video games, and it's sounding because I lived in a one-story apartment building at the time, and it sounded like there was something walking around on top of the building. And again, I didn't jump to conclusions. It might have been something that goes bump in the night. It was just a natural noise, but it's just something that kept happening, and it wouldn't happen for very long. And it did eventually did start to sound like it was just something pacing back and forth, back and forth. And I think when I started praying, and I almost nightly would pray for, I think, a couple months after that happened. I was praying almost nightly, and I think that was keeping whatever it was out, and it was pacing around on the roof of the building trying to find a way back in. And eventually it stopped, and I did keep praying after it stopped, but yeah.
No, I believe in prayer, the power of prayer. Absolutely. I came on and I meant to do it earlier, is guys, take a moment and say a prayer for everybody that's going through these fires up in Oregon and Northern California and wherever. I mean, and the weather that's just been really crazy. I think
even British Columbia has fires too, I think, going on.
Yeah. Just take a moment. I pray every day in some form, like I do a smudge bundle. When I smudge, I say the Lord's Prayer, but I also, I do my thing. I think it's the intent involved. And
yeah, my tribe is one of the tribes that does smudging.
Mm-hmm.
So like whenever we have anything paranormal going on, that's what that person is supposed to do, is smudge.
Yeah, I usually smudge before every show. I smudged earlier today before I did the little teaser video. Because I don't know what I'm going to deal with when I get on here.
Yeah.
It's a coin toss. It could be cool. It could be like, what the hell?
Yeah.
But so that's my little precaution, is saying a prayer and doing a little cleansing,
Yeah. I and when I lived in that apartment, there's a little convenience store that is about an 8-minute walk down the road. So when I wanted to get something to snack on, or it was like 3 days before payday and I needed some toilet paper, I would just go ahead and walk down there, even if it was like 11 o'clock at night, and just go ahead and walk down there. And for the longest time, almost every time walking down there and then walking back to my apartment, I would get that feeling like I was being watched. Now, I wouldn't hear anything, and I wouldn't like see anything out of the corner of my eye. It would just strictly be the feeling like I was being watched.
Yeah, that's unnerving.
Yeah, it is.
You would want to hear something or see something just so it's not just a feeling. You're like,
yeah,
confirmation.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's about it in that apartment. I never had anything else happen there. But when I was a kid, my mom and my sister and we moved in with one of my brothers a little further north in Whatcom County. And of course, my mom being strong in the Mormon church, we would have nightly prayers. And my sister wouldn't close her eyes a lot of times, and she would keep them open and just kind of look around or look at whatever. And she was the first to see a shadowy, kind of a reptilian looking figure come out of the laundry room and walk down the hallway towards the bedrooms.
Wow.
Yeah. And at one point, I happened to see it myself. I was sitting there. I don't know what I was doing, but I was sitting on the living room couch and just kind of happened to look up and see it. And I think I spotted it like 2 or 3 times. And one of the times my sister saw it, she, there's like a ton of times she would watch it. And one of the times she saw it, it happened to turn and look at her. And she couldn't really see any facial features, but she could just tell by the body language that it was surprised that she could see it. Like,
Oh,
how are
okay.
you able to see me? And
It's like,
then it
what?
just kept
You,
going. Yeah.
huh.
And my mom, like, that was the creepiest I had, was seeing it. But my mom, when I was a baby, one of my brothers died. And one night while she was looking through the family photo album, and it came across the pages where she had pictures of my brother. And she was sleepy and nodding off like that. And one of the times she was opening her eyes back up, she saw a reptilian shadowy hand cover the photo album in a kind of a deep, I think, raspy voice. We got this one. Yeah. And I don't know like the whole stories. I just know my siblings would have like encounters of seeing shadowy figures, or like a dog-headed figure running around on top of their house, or like they're hanging out late at night with some of our cousins and seeing something off in the woods, like 20 yards off in this direction. And it's just every single one of my siblings almost like has had an experience like that of seeing
Wow.
or hearing something or both.
It's a lot of activity.
It is. It is.
So there's still some questions I want to get to
Okay.
in chat. I skipped over a bunch. I just wanted to keep things rolling. But Bell Prepper wants to know, seeing with you, you're with the Mormon, church. Does Gilbert know of the historical stories of Bigfoot in the church?
I think I've heard something. It's been about 15 years, 15, 16 years since I last went. So it sounds like something I have heard of, but I can't recall anything offhand.
All right. I didn't know there was a historical.
Now that
Bigfoot.
she says that, it reminds me of one of the times I was talking with my mom about Sasquatch, that in, I guess in the Bible or maybe the Book of Mormon, it's talking about something about the mark of Cain, basically. And I can't remember what exactly she was saying, the story of the mark of Cain and Cain and Abel, but she was posturing that maybe Bigfoot is like the descendant of Cain, and like something about the mark of Cain.
I've heard that before. That theory before. It's interesting. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
It's just as good as theory as the next one.
Yeah. And if true, that might explain some of the paranormal abilities that some people think they have. When I think mark of Cain, I kind of think more of like a mark like on your arm or something. And when she would bring this up, I think she was alluding to them just being as hairy as they are is the mark of Cain.
The mark could be a curse,
Yeah. Yeah. Not something you see with your eyes, but more, yeah, like you said, a curse.
You never know. Let me just check out some more. I don't know, was this a question or was this a statement? Okay, there's a question mark. This is a big one. Nessie asked, is the different tribal attitudes towards Sasquatches based on historical experiences, i.e. kill them all because they're bad, versus see them as peoples because more positive encounters?
I would think so. Because I do know some tribes have had like little girls like wander off or be taken and then like live with Bigfoot. But it probably is based on the encounters that they have. Like you get on like a podcast or other YouTube channels and hear people's encounters, that Sasquatch in my area just kind of overall more, there's a better way to word this, not violent. But if you go somewhere like the Southwest, they tend to be more violent and quicker to temper, you know.
Yeah, I've heard that about, like, I'm in Arizona, so I've heard that. I mentioned that I was talking to Duke earlier, and we were talking about that, how the Sasquatch here supposedly are a little more uptight, but also the descriptions for the Mogollon monster almost sound like they're describing a troll, a literal troll. Bumps on its face, and but I don't know.
But yeah, it again, I think it probably, the attitudes is probably, I would say, is based on the encounters the people in that tribe have. I'm just now remembering a couple of years ago, I had a job where I was working the graveyard shift, and sometimes I'd be outside cleaning mats because part of our duties was to clean a couple restaurants, and that would include the mats along the cooking line. And back then, I was listening to Crypto PTSD a lot, and sometimes they would play Sasquatch vocalizations. And I didn't think of back to when I had that experience when I was in college. So I would just sit here willy nilly listening to it. And
It didn't click.
yeah. And one night when I was out there doing that, I was getting it wasn't an intense feeling, but I was getting a feeling that I was being watched.
Sure.
And this was actually in in our casino. And so there was a tribal gaming agent that was off at like 1:30 in the morning. So she'd always stop and briefly chat. And one night she stopped and she looked freaked out, almost like she had seen a ghost. And when she stopped, I was expecting to go, hey, good night, yada, yada, yada. Instead, she said, Sasquatch is out there. Because, like, one part of the building is like 50 yards from a bunch of trees. It's enough trees that Bigfoot could freely move around unseen.
Sure.
And that happened to be where she had to park when she would go into work.
So she saw him.
Well, she didn't see anything, but she could smell him, and she heard something. Because just about any tribal member you ask them, they're going to say, yeah, Bigfoot exists. It's kind of rare to be like, oh, yeah, Bigfoot don't exist. It's crazy talk. Even if they haven't had an experience, it's kind of axiomatic.
People are just so closed-minded, and they don't want to believe it. They don't want to, look outside their box, their little safe, their safety net. They don't go outside of it, their bubble, and there's scary shit outside that bubble.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, but
yeah,
I just think, the major thing now is awareness. People should know about these things. And a lot of people are preaching the same thing right now, and I think more people are learning about these things. And, 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, I didn't know that these things were this prevalent in the United States or all over the world. I do now. Well, I have a good idea. I don't know, but because I haven't witnessed it, but I have a good idea. Let's see. Go through chat real quick. I want to thank everybody in chat for showing up. All my mods, you guys are awesome. What else? Yeah, because I saw a bunch of questions earlier, and oh, here we go. That's a good question. What is your tribe's name for Sasquatch?
Oh man, that is a good question. I'd have to. I'm pretty rusty on my tribe's language, so I'd have to look into that. We do have what other tribes have is Wild Lady in the Woods. And some of you might actually know about that. And amongst Coast Salish tribes, I think it's one word as Zunaqua. Because I do remember hearing that word as a kid. Zunaqua.
Yeah, I think Duke mentioned that today, actually, when we were talking. Duke Sullivan. We were talking about these different similarities between some of these legends, and like the lady in the woods with the basket, and we talked comparing it to Krampus. I mean, if you've never heard of it, it's a German or Nordic
anti-flaws.
and there's something up in northern Alaska, way up in the north, that there's legends up there about the same thing, but Duke's really educated on those subjects. Let's see. Pappy Two Bears asks, does Gilbert ever get the feeling that the big guys want to communicate with you?
No, I don't think so. But it could be one of those things like you dismiss it as something else. It's happening, but you chalk it up to being something else.
Sure.
So you don't pay attention to it.
Yeah, it's weird when I wouldn't know how to react if I was in the woods and had like thoughts pop into my head or somebody telling me something. It's like, ooh, me?
Yeah.
What the hell was that?
Yeah.
But I do pay attention to that voice in my head, because I will get, and when I get that voice in my head, weird shit happens. Telling me to do something like turn around, and I will immediately turn around or pay attention, or I'll get that voice, and it's weird. But usually when that happens, something weird is about to happen. Aaron asks, Gilbert, did firing the gun keep the Bigfoot away?
I never followed up after that night, but I was talking to my buddy from Alaska a couple of days ago about like anything he remembers from that night, trying to fill in the gaps. And I stayed inside the house, but he was out on the porch, like I said. So what he heard something looking it through the water, and like even heard tree branches being violently moved out of the way, like something was just running through it as fast as it could. And after that, like I said, I never asked my friends, like, did it come back or anything like that. So I don't know. Like I said, it was a narrow bunching of trees that like it could move from one, like the woods over here, to this set of woods over here. So I could see it having, being something that went through there just regularly, and maybe they just let it be.
Right on. Yeah, I was mentioning Duke a minute ago, and he had to jump on and put all his knowledge in one paragraph. Hold on. Can you read that? Yeah. Similar. It's interesting.
Yeah. And since these different tribes have these similar stories like that, it's got to be something.
Just something. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's see. I don't mind dead air, by the way. I'm just I have to find questions, and there was something I was going to ask you, and I'm trying to remember what it was. It was something we mentioned earlier before the show. I don't remember what it was.
I do that too.
Oh, lately it's either age or too much weed. I don't know. Lately I just forget things mid-sentence.
For me, I think it's just like my mind works too fast, and so I sitting there, even just like minute to minute, we talking to like my roommate or another friend, and like lose train of thought, and just
because your mind's somewhere else. Yeah.
yeah.
Again, guys, if you have any questions, please put them in caps. I want to thank all you guys, man. You guys have been making this show really awesome. Thank you to Gilbert. Everybody has just been really receptive and really jumped in to help with this channel, just coming on and it's kind of weird. It's hard to get guests, but now all of a sudden it's easy, because my subscribers, my listeners, my friends are awesome, and everybody's willing to jump on and make a show. So thank you to all you guys. I wanted to definitely put that out there. I can't say it enough because, when I first initially started this show, I said it's for you guys, and that's coming to fruition. If you look at my YouTube, the about page part on my channel, it'll tell you, read the description or whatever, and it's coming to fruition. It's just weird how it worked out. So thank you to everybody in chat and everybody that listens and all my past guests and future guests. It's awesome.
I recently hit up myself, and I'm going through the process of catching up on all your videos.
No, I appreciate that you're watching, man. It's thrilling that, it's, to me, it's crazy.
Yeah.
That somebody's, there's 67 people in chat watching us. Who are we? But, we have good stories, and I love presenting and letting people present their stories. So I love the shit out of this.
Yeah.
Going live was the best thing I think I ever did. Making the videos was fun. It was great. But I think it's better when you can connect with people live, and see the chat. And so what else? I wanted to ask you, you deal with any like UFO experiences up there at all?
Other people have, but not myself. There is actually a short road out here on my reservation. It's actually called Sasquatch Road. But when I was a kid, me and my mom, my sister would go down the road a lot. Funny enough, we wouldn't really get any Sasquatch encounters, but she swears, and I think even my sister swears, that there's a couple times going down that road that we would have an alien, a UFO show up. I don't really, if anything's happened, they've done a good job blocking out of my mind, because if anything's happened, I don't remember.
Sure.
I kind of somewhat remember a bright light, but that could be something else, But other than that, no. If it's going on, other people are experiencing, and not me. For me, it's stuff here on the ground: Bigfoot, ghosts, demons, whatever.
Yeah, and it's funny. You think, and you talk about like the government declassifying some stuff or disclosing some UFO stuff, and you would think they would disclose the stuff that's on the ground. That's more of a threat to me than what's flying overhead.
Yeah.
It's kind of backwards to me.
Yeah. Because these Sasquatchers, all these stories, it's just, they can rip your arm off and beat you up with it. Not break a sweat.
Yeah.
I'd be more concerned about that than Scotty beaming me up.
Exactly. They're it's just weird how they're thinking.
They scream at you and it'll shake your insides.
So I've heard.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. I think I want to experience it. I keep saying it, and I just think it's the difference between me and the next guy is my paradigm has already changed. It's part of my daily vocabulary. Bigfoot or Sasquatch. It's look at my friggin' name. Monkey on Monster.
Yeah.
Arizona's Bigfoot. I just think I have a leg up on the next guy who doesn't know shit about it, because I'm not going to go, is that a bear? No, my first thought is going, is that a Bigfoot? Ah, frig, it's a
It's their
bear.
favorite thing to say, or you saw a bear.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, despite all my encounters, there is a part of me that wants to go squatching too. I got a buddy that, like I said, he wants to go squatching. He's mentioned to me a handful of times now about little camping and
Well, it's
see if
kind
he
of
can
weird,
find
dude. I
one.
got this roommate I've known for 10 years. We just moved in a couple months ago, but I've known him for 10 years since I've been in Arizona. And then I tell him about my show when he's about to move in. And he's like, oh, you should interview me. I'm like, why? He goes, I've been squatching for 10 years. I'm like, what?
Okay.
How do
Wow.
I not know this? This weird shit. Have the Bigfoot sightings increased the older you have become? Well,
No,
a
actually,
lot. So.
my last encounter was that night in my friend's house. Because since that time, I've lived a lot. That apartment I lived in there for 8.5 years. And it was only like 3 years ago I moved back out here to the reservation. So if anything, it's gotten slower. Since I've been living here in this house, I haven't like seen or heard anything. The closest to it is, like I said, the skunk smell. But since it was just a pure skunk smell, it could have been just a skunk or whatever.
It's kind of ironic. We got a question. We were talking about this before the show. Has you or someone close seen Dogman or werewolf type critters?
I have a brother. I don't know how many times he's seen it, but I heard it actually through my mom and not from him directly. So I'm sure there's details that I don't know, that he's seen a dog-headed something. Now it's been wearing clothes, so it may not be a dogman.
So
It might
no,
be something else.
yeah,
Yeah,
when you said that, it kind of threw me off a little bit.
yeah.
But maybe someone in chat knows. Duke, you might know. Dogman wearing clothes is a werewolf, or what? Any opinions in chat? Throw them out there. They're all welcome.
Yeah. I'd be curious about that too, because
yeah, somebody might have an idea out there.
Yeah.
Pappy's got a question. That's not Pappy. What are your plans in future exploring the big guys? Paranormal, it's calling you now, you know. Yeah, true.
Like I said, there is a part of me that, despite my experiences, I do want to go out there, go camping. Because, like some people say, don't actively look for Bigfoot, because you see these shows on TV and they're doing this and they're doing that, trying to drop Bigfoot, and they're not finding squat. They're probably finding lint in their pockets more than they are finding Bigfoot.
Sure.
So the plan would be just go camping, just act casual, and then let them come to us.
Yeah, I've been trying to figure out how I'm going to approach this. If I even want to bring a phone, or like, do I even bother trying to record anything, or just let it flow and see what happens and not record and just have the experience, or see what's out there. And I think you'd be more prone to have an experience without the electronics. So
yeah,
I think the way I'm approaching this, it's kind of, I think somebody called it KISS, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Don't bring all the crap. Just go keep it simple. See what happens.
Yeah.
That's how I think that's how I'm going to approach it. I don't need to catch recordings. I don't have to prove shit. I want to experience it for myself. Where that leads, we'll see. After that, but right now,
and with all my experiences, other than seeing it in the tree line with my cousin, I've never fully seen it. Like you hear about hunters seeing one, or campers being like 20 yards away screaming at. I've never had an encounter like that. The closest to it, like I said, it would be either standing just inside the tree line or sitting up in the up on the branch, which I was talking with a friend of mine, and he said that maybe it was a juvenile Bigfoot that my cousin and I had seen. And from what I can remember, it wasn't very tall. It wasn't like 9 feet tall or anything like that. So
Javier says the one I saw, it looked like it had ripped shorts, like it was wearing ripped shorts, but not sure.
The Dogman thing.
Yeah, whatever he saw. I forgot. But yeah, like I said earlier, there's these weird random accounts where there's clothing involved and they're wearing it via a flannel shirt or some weird apparel, and it just makes you wonder why.
Yeah. Maybe there's something about it. It looks like they're wearing clothes, but they're not actually.
Historical reports of dogmen wearing, maybe cloth, I read right on. So yeah, throw the question out there. You'll get different answers.
Yeah.
Let's see what Duke might have said. Dogman doesn't shapeshift. Yeah, I figured that.
No. I don't.
And we mentioned that earlier, when we were talking about it. It could have been, a werewolf or whatever. Why is this thing? Was it a human that morphed into something that, while wearing that shirt, skinwalker or something? I don't know.
Yeah. I just remembered my sister. She was going to school yet, and I think this happened a handful of times from what I heard, that she would go, the same cousin he lived with, my auntie, his grandma, she would go over there and visit too. And she would just wait down on the road for the school bus. And it'd be, like 6 a.m, so it's not very bright out. And she would look over into the bushes over here and see some kind of figure, like she couldn't really see too well. She just know it would be something crouched in the bushes, motioning for her to come over here. And she'd almost go running back into my auntie's house, but she never did because she wanted to make sure she got to school.
Sure.
But
that's terrifying.
Me, yeah. Like even hearing somebody go through that is, regardless if it's paranormal or very mundane.
Just having to deal with that fear.
Yeah. Something mysterious come over here and it's ducked in the bushes.
Sure.
That's hardly ever, if at all, is that something good.
No. No, not usually. Chris, still crazy, Chris. It's got to be something wrong with the internet. Again, people are having issues with the screen flashing on and off. I had it earlier happening with another show on my phone, but it was on my phone, and then when I switched to my laptop, it didn't do it. So
maybe your internet is haunted.
Maybe it's this wonderful 5G.
Oh, geez.
Just saying. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. It sounded good.
That's a whole other show right there.
Yeah, I ain't going down that hole now.
No.
Let's see. Any more questions? How far back does Dogman legend go in the U.S.? I have no idea.
Yeah.
We tried.
Only within the last 3 years I've heard about it myself.
If anybody knows that, like Duke or anybody, just throw it up there. Prairie Fire. Oh no, it's a Duke fan. It's funny. I'm a big fan of you. So Duke had said he had 2 reports of Dogman wearing torn pants. So there's 2 more. It's interesting.
Yeah.
So does anybody have any other questions? We're already a little over an hour. I know you guys like to keep it going. Anybody wants to pop on? I don't know if I want to go there tonight. I don't know if I want to do a 2-hour show. What do you guys think? I don't know. I don't know what you have planned, Gilbert. You know, if you have other things you got to do, or you got other stuff you want to talk about, feel free to just babble on.
Yeah, if we keep going, we can go. I don't really have any other stories. At least not right now. I might think of something as soon as we're off air.
Okay, so the loup garou was reported by French settlers in Louisiana in the 1600s. So that answers that question. So they've been around for a long ass time.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
And I wonder if they were brought over from Europe. Because werewolves were a big European thing, and
yeah.
I think
as far as I know, there's no like pre-contact stories from Native American tribes about like a Bigfoot type or a Dogman type creature. None I'm aware of, anyway.
Chris, we're going to talk about those orbs another time, hon. I'm not convinced. Sorry, hon, but I'll explain when we talk about it. Duke says, damn it, push the button. Navajo legend says Dogman were super weapons used against the giants created by black magic. That's interesting. Prairie Fire. What about the head structure of the Bigfoot in the Gimlin film? What about it? It wasn't as conical. I mean, I don't think, was it? You know that Gimlin Patterson film?
Yeah, the Patty. I
don't think Patty was so conical as you hear a lot of stories. You know, really cone head. I don't have much to say on that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Sorry. I'm
good, man.
Trying to get to these questions, and some of them I have no idea about. What else? Oh, dude, I got to do this. I'm not taking my pants off, Nessie. My first live chat, I took my pants off. Nessie Monster was like, "Is it pants off? Pants off?" I was like, "You know what? You're right." So I took them off. I took them off again 2 nights ago, or whenever it was the last show. It's been like 16 shows, so yeah, I guess it was time to take my pants off again. Just stupid shit. It's funny though. Oh, geez, that was loud. Let's see. Have you ever had pine cones thrown at you from the forest?
I don't really go out into the forest other than being near the trees out here on the reservation. So, no, I don't think so. I might have had something again. I might have had something thrown at me, and it just probably chalked it up as something falling out of the trees rather than Sasquatch.
Sure.
Saying, "Hey, get out of here."
Barry, you don't need to know that, but it's Boxer Bruce. He's like Speedos or G-string. I'm like, I'm not wearing your mom's underwear. Stop. Just kidding, brother. Let's see what else. Budgie smugglers. My chat's going to hell. We don't need to talk about what kind of underwear I wear. Professor Duke, I'm a basket case, not a woman in a basket. clever. Let's see. Yeah, I think we're fucking pants jokes. Yeah, guys, if you don't have any more questions, we're gonna cut this short. It's an hour and 15 minutes. It's not really short, but I've had 2.5 hour shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a flat ass by after that. I have a flat ass now, but I'm sitting on a cushion. I sit on a squeaky bar stool. Hetty, what do you mean you get no respect? What the hell? We get no respect. What's this we shit? You got a mouse in your pocket? I respect everybody, hon.
Rodney Dangerfield.
I can actually do Rodney. Well, friggin' Caddyshack was one of my favorite movies growing up. So I love that show. I've seen it a million times, and for some reason I can do a Rodney Dangerfield impression. Yeah, I don't see any more. Barry's getting crazy. Dude, Gilbert, thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Welcome, man.
I really appreciate it. Oh, my pleasure. Anytime, man. Yeah, I love getting your point of view, any Native American point of view. I don't know if that's insulting.
No.
Because those are where the true stories come from. I'd rather hear that than my neighbor Hunter who said he saw something in the woods. I want to hear the legends. I want to hear the stories behind it. That helps me believe more that they're out there. One day I hope to see one. We'll see. I mean, people say be careful what you ask for, or be careful what you wish for, and you only live once, or you live every day. You only die once. But
Yeah.
it's not going to. Just thinking they're out there is not going to keep me out of the woods. And I've said it before. Knowing they're out there, maybe. So we'll see. But yeah, man. Thank you so much again. And we'll have you on in the future again if you want to come on and hang out. That's what we're about, is just having some fun. Normally I'd have other people on with you, or but I just figured we'll just kick it tonight and hear what you had to say. And that it gets a little crazy when you have more than 2 or 3 people on. But yeah, man, much respect. I really I appreciate it, and I'll be in touch, man. Because if I ever get up that way, I'm gonna not looking for a place to crash. Just I want to see the area, and I'd rather see it with somebody who knows what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely get up there. I got a lot of traveling to do. I'm making plans to go all over the country. Texas, Utah. I'm going everywhere.
We got Mount Baker and the Three Sisters to explore up here. So
right on.
A whole lot of Squatching territory.
All right. I just Cam's like, Mogion's going to end up like a burrito, go camping alone and just carried off in a sleeping bag. That's funny. All right, man. Again, thank you. And we'll talk soon. I'm going to say goodbye to everybody here.
Okay.
If you want to hang out and we'll talk afterwards, it's up to you. I'll be there in a minute or two, but thanks again, man. Again, people say thank you.
Have a good night, chat.
All right. Thanks. So that was interesting. Some good stories. I hope you guys appreciated them. I did. I love the Native point of view, the Native American point of view, or Indigenous point of view, or whatever you want to call it. Not trying to be insulting or piss anybody off if I say it wrong. You know, this isn't a politically correct show, obviously. But everybody in chat, thank you so much. I'm going to put together a show for Tuesday. I got to start making some phone calls. Hopefully I can get some people on. Probably drag Duke back on soon. Bell, Big Rob, Chris, everybody who's modding. Thank you so much, Bomber. And the rest of you guys have an amazing night. If you like the video, by the way, hit the subscribe button, like, share, and, you know, let's get this show out there. I mean, you guys have been phenomenal. You know, I'm getting reports from, you know, I'm getting emails from people commenting on my growth, you know, this short period of time that I've been doing this. And all of a sudden this channel is getting bigger, and it's I think people are seeing it. It's surprising them. So thank you. I owe it to you guys. It's your channel, and we'll keep doing what we're doing and building it, you know? All right, guys, I'm losing my voice. You guys have an amazing night, and we'll see you soon. I'll talk to you guys over the weekend in chat somewhere. All right. Peace and God bless, everybody.